My name is Sabrina Levine. I am 27 years old and I have been running Blankets for the Homeless for the last 2 years. I've been working in the health and social services field myself personally since I was 18 years old. So I have some experience all around, studied criminology in university, and have always really been passionate about working with the at-risk and vulnerable community. So after working at a homeless shelter for a few years and having to go back to school, I wanted to kind of get more involved in a way that wasn't only about work, but really about my life and my lifestyle and who I am as a person and who I want to be and who I want to be with. Blankets for the Homeless, we are a nonprofit organization. We are not registered. We are run by volunteers and myself. We've been around, it's going to be 9 years at the end of the month. Throughout the last 9 years, we realized a lot of what was needed was really like immediate essential services, and that included things like food, hygiene products, boots, jackets, blankets, things like that as well. But a lot of it has become based on just community and being together and having a meal, sharing an experience, sharing holidays together and things like that. We host our events outside. Anyone is welcome and no one is really pushed away. There's no check marks that you have to check off to be able to come and use our services. We don't ask for your name. We don't ask for an ID. We don't ask anything like that. The only thing that we do ask for is that they're respectful and polite like we would of any other citizen, and that they clean up their stuff after they leave. And that is always done to above and beyond what we've asked. It's had a really amazing impact on me. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of organization, and I'm not a very organized person, but I kind of have to be. At our events, we typically feed about 150 to 200 people per event. That's all that food is gathered by donors and sponsors. It's gathered by my friends who have the time to cook some meals that weekend. It's me and my partner who are in the kitchen the whole day, the day before, making all the food that we can. It's really surrounded me with a lot of people that I've really come to love. It's introduced me to a lot of people that speak the same language as me and have the same values as me. And it's just, for me, that reflection in my life is super important because I'm really passionate about this. And to surround yourself with people who are equally as passionate or willing to understand or to help or to do those things have really just been amazing. I mean, so many people have learned so much and written me after or thanked me after or called me after and just said how much they enjoyed that experience. And I think that's been the biggest impact for me, is having somebody come to volunteer for the first time in their life, spend 2 hours there, and it just opens up a whole new world to them. And to be able to see that is just amazing to me. Having worked at a homeless shelter for a few years when I first came into the field was an absolute amazing experience for me. It was my first experience working in the health and social services in Montreal. I had always done some volunteering when I was younger. I was always interested in soup kitchens and things like that. I guess I've always really just been passionate about helping homeless people from a very young age, before I even understood the reality of what it was and what the actual needs were of our homeless community in Montreal and everywhere. And not only serving the vulnerable population, but I find a huge part of it for me is also educating the non-vulnerable and at-risk population, the non-homeless people and the people who have never really had contact with that community. A huge issue that we have with our at-risk and vulnerable community is really the stigmas and the labels that are placed upon them that sometimes are not true and maybe would have been true at one point or another, but as we know of any stigma and any label, it does not stick to a whole population, right? And even a person can change, and I can be one way today and be a completely different person tomorrow if that's what I wanted to do, right? So why do we not give that opportunity to these people? And I think growing up, a lot of us were told that homeless people are this and they're not that, but we don't know that, right? We don't know anything about them, and we don't know why they're there and why they're in their situation. And the reality is that a lot of our vulnerable and at-risk community struggle with mental health mental health issues, right? Anxiety and depression and schizophrenia, and the list goes on and on and on. And these are debilitating disabilities that a lot of us experience, and we don't talk about it, but we do. We've, especially over the last 2 years with COVID and the pandemic, we've all really experienced a lot of these mental health issues, and we have access to resources. We have access to these resources that we need, right? And we can go to the emergency room, and we can go to our general practitioner, and we can go to our friends and our families to get that support that we need. And I'm not saying that everybody has that, but a majority of us do have that. Whereas our homeless population does not have access to that. And that's down to like the bottom core. I mean, when I worked at the homeless shelter, a lot of my clients didn't even have a Medicare card. And so to get a Medicare card, we needed to get their birth certificate. And a lot of them didn't even have the birth certificate, right? And a lot of them haven't had communication with their family in 40 years. And they might have been born up north, and they might have been born on other side of Canada. So that one step of getting a Medicare card could take us 10 months, right? And those are resources that are offered by a lot of shelters. And that's what we used to do when I used to work at the shelter, was really help them get back on their feet. And just that 10-month period, you have to be consistent, right? You have to have an address to have your things sent to. You have to have access to the internet. You have to have help, because let's face it, even we struggle sometimes trying to fill out applications online. Can you imagine people who are not used to this technology, or don't speak English, or don't speak French, or whatever it may be? So a lot of these big issues, like, well, why don't they just get a job? Well, to get a job, maybe we have to tackle some other issues. Their housing, right? They have no funds for food. Their mental health. So then again, we get to the mental health. How can we help them with their mental health? Well, let's get them to a doctor. Step one. Well, to go to the doctor, you need your Medicare card. Well, to get your Medicare card, you need your birth certificate. You need an address. So I think a lot of it trickles down. And I think they are very good questions when people say those things. And I think it's important to ask these questions, because it's important to learn, right? So why can't they just go back to work? Well, maybe they'd like to, and maybe they've been trying to, right? And that's just one sort of, population. There are many people who cannot work because their mental health is just not well. Somebody who has very bad schizophrenia, unfortunately, will have a very hard time finding a job when they're not consistently medicated, right? People who do have substance abuse issues, which is way more common than we think, and not common in homeless people. I mean, common in everyone. We kind of all have some sort of addiction to something, whether it's phones or exercise or, alcohol or other sort of drugs. I mean, we all have that addiction. Not everyone, but a lot of us do. And so when somebody has a substance abuse addiction, they can't get out of that to get up to go to a job, and a lot of their priority for the day is getting through the next hour. It's not getting through the next month or the next week. They're trying to get through that next hour. The biggest issue I've seen with people who want to help is they want to facilitate exactly how they help, and where their donation goes and who it goes to, and and I think, like, I understand it, but I think at the end of the day, if you want to help someone, you got to help them and how they think they need to be helped, and what they think they need to be helped in. And you can't facilitate how you're going to help them. A lot of people ask the question of, well, if you give them $1, aren't they just going to go buy beer or whatever it is? And it's like, yeah, you're right. Maybe that person will go and buy themselves a can of beer or something, but maybe that person has a really bad alcohol addiction, and if he doesn't get that can of beer, he might go into a severe withdrawal and detox. And so who am I to judge how somebody else is living their life, right? So I think that's my advice, is that if you want to help, just leave it at that. You want to help, right? There's people who are starting these initiatives all over, right? Collecting jackets from all their families. And, just an example is, like, I had a woman who had read my post, and she asked her whole office if they had any old blankets and coats, and next thing I know, I got 50 winter jackets just from her work, you know. So these little initiatives are super awesome. How can people get involved? Well, people can get involved all over, and they should. And the biggest thing that people can do is take a look at what they got in their closet. You know, do they need those 5 coats? No, maybe they don't need that extra one over there. You know, is it in good shape? Would somebody else wear it? You know, collect your coats and collect your boots that you don't use anymore, that maybe you threw out and it has a hole, but that's totally fine. Collect them. Message us or any organization, any homeless shelter. We're always looking. We are all always looking. Wintertime is hard. We need these things. And that's for winter. Summertime is hard. We need those things too. You know, we got no socks, we got no underwear, we got no shorts or t-shirts or whatever it is. Take a look at your clothing. That's how you can help. Call your local shelter. Ask them if they need some donations. Drop them off. Make sure they're clean. Make sure they're not destroyed, you know. Make sure that they're season appropriate. Volunteer your time. If you can't stay at an event, if you can't stay at a shelter to help hand out the food, maybe you can make the food on your own time and just drop it off. Share the posts. Share the posts when shelters are asking for help, when they're saying they need stuff. Share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram, share it on, you know, all the other platforms. I don't really know what they are, but share them with your family, share them with your friends. Educate yourself, super important. If you can't be there and you don't have time to cook, or you hate cooking, you know, you can always donate money, even if it's $5, guys. $5 is still $5. So you can donate $5, send an e-transfer. $5 helps, you know. Just an example, we feed about 150 to 200 people, and I would say I'm able to do that now with about $250. So that's really not that bad, you know. And I don't have some crazy kitchen. This is my kitchen I'm doing it in, you know. So anything really helps. And ask questions. Ask how you can help at different times. There's always different needs at different times, you know. Those are the biggest things that people can do, really. Yeah.